Hello everyone, welcome back to Chess Comment. Most of you have heard of the King's Indian defense. It's an opening famously played by the legends like Bobby Fischer and Garry Kasparov. But in the modern generation, the question is, who's the best King's Indian player today? For me, it's none other than Hikaru Nakamura. And today, we're going to look at one of his brilliant kid games. Kid, KID stands for King's Indian Defense. This is how how masters to grandmasters uh, speak the language of chess openings, okay? Where he faces Wesley So. And just so you know, Wesley is known as a kid killer, which means this is not just any game. This is a clash between a kid specialist and someone who knows exactly how to punish him. And it's a perfect example of how to handle the King's Indian defense with aggression, timing, and precise calculation. So, without further ado, let us start. Okay? So, Wesley's playing white, Hikaru's playing black. D4, knight of 6. So, this is how the King's Indian looks like. E4, D6, knight of 3. So, this is still memorized. D5. The normal move for white is to castle. I mean, just a quick line. If white captures, black captures back, knight takes c5, there'll be knight takes e4, winning back the knight and the pawn. Okay? So now, let's go back to what really happened. White castles, black played knight to c6, in which I don't know why the engine annotated the move with the dubious one, but it's not. It's a well-prepared line. D5, and by the way, King's Indian is what, more than 18 moves of memorized line, okay? Knight E7's played. Knight E1. Okay, so this is the classical or traditional King's Indian. And this is how a traditional or classical King's Indian works. White tries to attack on the queen side, while black attacks on the king side. So what does it mean? White is doing a material hunt, while black is doing a king hunt. So now, let's continue on what happened. Black played knight d7, preparing to play f5, f3, f5, yep, because it's a pawn storm, right? Bishop e3, f4, bishop f2, and again, this is still part of the memorized line of the King's Indian. Knight g6, it's just a preparation move. Now, c5, Wesley is trying to break through right away, in which Hikaru played knight f6, rook to c1, and now this move is preparing to attack on the C file. So Hikaru played rook to f7. But let me just show you the purpose of rook c1 if black doesn't pay attention of white's threat. Because the rook move on f7 is a must. Now, let's say black is hurrying up to play g4, because this is one of the ideas of black, to break through on the g4 square. White just simply plays c takes d6, c takes d6, and knight to b5. So what's the sense of this move? It is attacking a7 and the c7 square at the same time. Okay, coach, what does it mean? Black just needs to play a6, knight c7, black just has to move the rook to b8, but after knight e6, what is just simply much better? Because this is a fork, right? So the bishop has to be traded off, and the bishop on c8 is one of the heart and souls, okay, of black's kingside attack. Because at some point after black is able to do the pawn storm, the h-pawn goes to h3, okay, moves to h3, and the white bishop is being used to sacrifice, as a sacrifice on h3. If there's no white bishop after h3, the attack is gone. It is closed. That's why white wants the piece, the light square bishop of black. Now, let's go back to what happened. Of course, Hikaru knows it. Hikaru played rook f7. If I know it, of course, Hikaru knows it. And then Wesley played king h1, a good sidestep move of the king, preparing to play bishop to g1 later, a space for the bishop. Why? Because at some point after g3, the bishop goes back to g1 and gives a better shelter, a much better shelter for the king. Because you don't want the bishop to capture this pawn like this, because knight f5, knight h5, and then knight f4 is going to be a hole. Now, let's go back. Oh, sorry. Let's continue. Hikaru played h5. preparing to play g4, which is this is how the King's Indian works for black. Wesley played c6, and then knight to b5, threatening the pawn, right? And Hikaru played pawn to a6, just kicking the knight out. And then Wesley played knight a3, preparing to play knight c4, knight b6 to win the light square bishop. And now, it's very important for you to know, right? What is the purpose or what is the threat of your opponent? So you can just stop it. That's why Hikaru played b5. Just stopping the knight going to c4, right? And here, Wesley played rook to c6. Wesley is preparing to triple up on the c file. And Hikaru played g4. Obviously, because he's ready. Now, Wesley played queen c2, which is expected. And look at what Hikaru played. He knows that Wesley's going to triple up the bishop. And right now, he just can simply move the bishop to d7. Imagine the rook is ready on c1. He just can't move the bishop to d7 because the bishop blocks the queen. And the rook can just simply capture the pawn on d6. That's why Hikaru played queen to f8. So that after rook to c1, which Wesley played, he can play bishop d7 to save the bishop and attack the rook. And moving the queen to f8 is not just simply defending d6, but it's also preparing the queen to be part of the attack. Later, it can maneuver to h6 or attack the f file. So now let's continue on what happened. Wesley played rook c7, which is a logical move for anyone's rook that's being under attack. I myself will play rook c7. You may also play rook c7. But as per the engine, because when I went over this game, the correct move for white is to play knight b4. Just give up the rook. And now, the idea of white is to shelter this pawn and make sure it goes to college, promotion, right? And becomes a valedictorian. And also, black has a hole on d5. Now, let's go back to what really happened in the game. Wesley played rook c7, and then Hikaru played bishop h6. Here we go. A typical move for King's Indian, a typical maneuver for this bishop. Because this bishop can either go to f8 to help defend d6, depending on the line, and now it went to h6. 2, give a space for the queen later and to attack this diagonal. Sometimes the bishop goes to f4, depending what happens, to attack the king, or on e3. Now, let's see and continue. Wesley played bishop to e1, in which I think this move is something we can say an inaccuracy. Although I understand the purpose, he wants to reroute his bishop to b4 to help put pressure on the d6 pawn. And here, if I was the one to play for black, from a King's Indian player, I will just simply play pawn to g3 to continue with my attack, right? But Hikaru played the move that surprised me, which is h4. What heck? I'm like, what does he want? So, of course, I already studied this, so I understood. So let's just say white plays a random move, just a random move, so that we would understand the purpose of the move h4, okay? b3. His purpose is just, of course, to play h3. If we capture, g3. Now, the g file is open, right? If white captures, f takes. Now, this bishop is open. Let's say the rook runs away to d1. Because if the rook doesn't run away, the bishop will take it. Then here goes bishop to e3. What's the purpose of this move? To attack g1? But to give the queen a space to maneuver and attack h3. And black is just simply winning. Okay? Now, let's go back to what happened. Back. Here we go. Wesley played f takes g4. Yes. Then Hikaru played a brilliant move, okay? Or probably one of the brilliant moves that he played, because he played a lot of brilliant moves in this game. He played f3. Whoop. The purpose? to attack the bishop and to attack the rook. So if the bishop takes, Hikaru will just simply capture the rook, right? But in the game, Wesley took with the pawn. And you were just expecting Hikaru to capture the rook, right? Do you know what Hikaru played or what he did? He sacked a knight. So he sacked another piece, okay? Sacking the knight, and then Wesley played rook to d1, which is a blunder. I totally agree with the engine, but let's try to go back first. Okay, coach, why didn't Wesley capture the knight? Because if Wesley captures the knight, Hikaru will play rook to f1 check. If the bishop takes, queen takes f1 will be a mate, which means Hikaru is obligedly forced to go to g2, right? And then there's the move bishop to e3. What is the threat of bishop to e3? The threat is simple. Rook g1, king h3, and then there'll be a checkmate in a few moves. So let's play a random for us to see it. Let's just say white plays pawn to b3, our favorite random move of the day, right? There'll be rook g1 check, king goes to h3, followed by queen f1, wapak. The bishop is forced to take, right? And followed by bishop takes g4, bloop, check the mate. Now, let's go back. In the game, after king g2 and then, king g2, Hikaru played bishop to e3, pawn to b3, rook to g. Oh, wait. No. So, knight takes e4. I mean, rook d1. Rook d1 was played by Wesley, sorry. And then Hikaru played another sacrifice. Ah, you didn't want to capture my knight, huh? Well, let me sack my rook. Like, what the? Okay, Hikaru. And now, Wesley played bishop to d2. And this, oh, actually, was it bishop to d2 or rook takes d7? I think Wesley played rook takes d7, trying to win the light square bishop. But I think it's pretty obvious. If Hikaru captures the rook, there will be queen takes f3 check, right? And if the queen, so let's do it one move at a time. If the queen or the king goes to g1, black will just simply play bishop to e3 check, bishop f2, followed by knight takes f2, knight takes f2, and knight f4. This is unstoppable. Not that unstoppable, sorry. The king can still go to f1, but after queen g2, king e1, queen g1 will be a mate. The only thing white can do to prolong is to sacrifice its queen, which doesn't really help. Okay? Now let's go back. Okay, coach. What if the queen blocks? If the queen blocks, there will be bishop takes g4. Bloop. Threatening the rook. Threatening to play h3. If the queen captures, let's just say queen captures, right? Bishop takes. King goes to g1 and winning the rook. As simple as that. And black is just winning. Up by material. 4 minor pieces versus 3 minor pieces. Now, let's go back. Okay, coach. So Wesley didn't take the rook. Instead, he took the bishop. And now, Hikaru played rook f1. We all know, after bishop takes f1, there'll be a mate, right? Queen takes f1. So Wesley played king g2. Look at what Hikaru did here. He hunted this king, and this king ended up somewhere here, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember this game. So king g2 was played. Hikaru played bishop e3, which is typical threat of rook to g1. And if Wesley captures, same idea goes, h3 check, king is forced to take, followed by queen f3 check, bishop is forced to block, and here it goes, knight g5. Siamat! Okay, checkmate. Now, let's go back. This is not what happened to the game. I'm just showing you what is, okay? So, Wesley didn't take the rook. Instead, he moved his bishop to g3. He was blocking the threat on f3, right? And Hikaru just took it. It's like, okay, let me take it. And then Wesley took the rook, which is a bad move. And now, here comes knight h4, checky poo. And if the king goes back to h1, this will be the nastiest checkmate here. Pawn mate. So, Wesley moved his king to h3, followed by, bam, queen h4. Threatening what? A discovered attack. So this knight can go to f3 or can go to f5. Queen takes h2 will be a mate. So here, Wesley is left with nothing except to play g5. But I want to show you something. Okay, coach. What if Wesley just played this? If the knight goes to f3, there's king g2 and then king takes f3, right? Okay, so this will be the move. Knight g5. Bloop. Because since this knight doesn't have defender, when it goes to f3 and after knight g5, it has a defender. King goes to h2, then knight h f3. Checkmate follows, right? Because the knight is protected. So now let's go back. It's a lot of mate, right? Yeah, this is tiring. This game is tiring. So Wesley played g5, trying to give his king a space to run away. Then Hikaru just simply played bloop. Knight takes g5 check. Wesley played king g4. Knight f3 was played. Wow. Dang. This is just sowing, okay? He is sowing a mate. What is the purpose? Bloop. Queen h3 mate. Okay, if the threat is queen h3 mate, if the bishop captures, will queen h3 be a mate? Yes, it is, because the bishop is protecting the knight. So what did Wesley do? He played knight f2 to defend the threat on h3. And here goes Hikaru again. Bloop, check. King goes to f5, which is a force move, followed by rook f8 check. King goes to g6. I told you, I remember the king went somewhere like here, right? And this is the final move before Wesley resigned. Rook f6. Wow. Just simply wow. King takes. Knight e4 check. Wow again. Just simply wow. The king has what? 1, 2, 3 squares to run away or go to. If the king goes to e6, queen f6 is a mate. Knight to d4 is also a mate. Let's go back. If the king goes to g6, this is what happened in the game. Queen g5 is a mate. If the king goes to f5, queen f4, followed by queen g5 or queen f6, depending on where the king goes. If the king goes to e6, queen f6 is a mate. If the king goes to g6, the same thing. Queen g5 is a mate. Whew. Wow. I got tired. Anyhow, anyway. Now, do you believe me now that for me, Hikaru is the King's Indian god? I hope you guys learned from this video. And if you do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the good chess vibe. And please stay tuned on my live streams. Until next time. Bye bye everyone.